Hello, hello.
Good evening.
I think we are live both places.
And we hope it maintains.
Yeah, we hope our connection. So we're going to depend on y'all to give us some connection feedback. It is a dreary, gloomy,
beautiful
day in Seattle. It is, Claire, come here. Come wave to Kate Marie. Hold on, Kate Marie.
Oh my.
Oh my. Okay.
The people never get
There's
to see Claire.
Look, hold on. She's on Instagram. There's Claire. Okay.
Oh my.
That was a rare appearance.
That was one of Claire's friends. So I had to come. Kate Marie, now you at least got to tell her hey back so that she'll know. There is Matthew and Kendall, Miss Marcy, Miss Janice, and Sandra. Hello, all. Happy Friday evening. Like we said, it's a dreary, gloomy, about 58 degrees here in Seattle.
Gorgeous.
Well, I love the temperature. I would like for us to have some sunshine though.
Yep.
It is so interesting because it was we left temperatures in the 80s last week in Portland, which was very warm and unseasonably warm for that time of year in Portland. And then came here and it was like in the 70s, and then it's supposed to drop today and tomorrow, I think. And then Matthew just popped over to Instagram, so I hope that doesn't mean that we're lagging or freezing up. Anyway, so yeah, it's supposed to be cool today and tomorrow, like in the 60s tomorrow and Monday. So super nice weather. We're here for it. Hey Chris Lawson, how are you? So I'm happy to have on a sweatshirt and be cozy. So anyway, we were sitting outside and I said, it's cold out here. And Kevin said, you're crazy. So anyway, Sandra says it was a beautiful day at the PGA in Rochester. What PGA?
PGA Championship?
What?
Oak Hill.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
She keeps up with a lot of stuff, especially golf.
Yeah. I did see golf playing on a TV in somewhere we walked in, and I wondered, but anyway. Okay, so update from our week. I don't even remember what we did this week.
Yeah?
It seems like a long time ago. We had a busy week.
Where were we live last week?
Portland, right?
Yes.
Last week in Portland, and we went to church with...
Last week was Mother's Day.
Yes.
Oh, and we had done the event. I think we did go live, though, didn't we? We did.
We did.
Yeah. And so we had done the event for single moms at River City Church in Vancouver, Washington, because we talked about how Vancouver, Oregon and Washington are so close together, and Vancouver is actually one of the biggest suburbs. Anyway.
So Monday, I got to take my truck and drop it off to get several things done. This is the first time I've been in a place where I really didn't have any access to a place where I could change my oil and change my fuel filters. So I had to have that done at a shop, but I was having to get the brakes done as well. So they were able to knock it out all in one day. And so I dropped it off and walked about a mile to...
I was about to say, okay, this is our life. We'll tell you about what we're doing this week. One thing in our RV life. So Kevin, we have the one vehicle, so when Kevin drops it off in the shop, it's not like I can come get him or do anything about it.
And it was only a mile, so I was having lunch with a pastor. So I dropped off the truck at 8, and then I walked to where I was having lunch with the pastor. It just so happened that a Five Guys was attached to a Chick-fil-A. We were having lunch at Five Guys, so I went to Chick-fil-A and grabbed breakfast and something to drink to justify sitting there for 3.5 hours before I went to lunch and using their Wi-Fi. So that was good.
So I asked him when he called to tell me where he had landed, and I said, so what are you going to do if the truck's not ready? And I said, are you going to Uber back to the campground or what? And so he was like, I don't really know. So anyway, it ended up working out. He was able to walk back, and they had the truck ready.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well. So, had a question here. What are the rules about bringing meat into Canada?
Oh, yes.
Did you post something about that?
I was talked about in my day in the life stories this week. I did one pulling a meat out of the freezer, talking about how we were trying to use all of our.
From what I read, you can bring meat in if it is like packaged, like a pound of breakfast sausage that's in the Jimmy Dean wrapper. You can bring that in. If you go to Costco and buy 10 pounds of ground beef and put it in Ziploc bags, you cannot bring that in. So we do that oftentimes with Costco chicken.
And
ground beef both. And so we have to make sure we use all that up. It just so happens there is a Costco right next to our campground in Canada, first place we stopped.
Yeah. So same would apply. It's kind of the whole concept from what we can figure out of like any sort of produce anything that's packaged, like cans or anything that you would keep in a pantry that has a shelf life is fine. It's more stuff that's,
better eat those bananas on the counter.
Yeah, those bananas need to be eaten.
No produce, anything like that, like fresh foods that we will have to use up. And here's the catch, though, and what we've read and what we know, and we've read these things. It's different stories at both of the borders in North America, but this part is the same. Is that there? It seems to be that there's not a lot of the experience crossing the border with an RV is not uniform. So it all depends on who you get, what kind of mood they're in, what time of day it is. So it could be that I hand them our passports or Kevin hands our passports out the window and they look and wave us by. It could be that they pull us to the side, open up the RV, have us pull out the slides and walk through. We just have no idea. And so we kind of have to prepare for.
It's the same thing with guns. So if you're going hunting, you're allowed to bring a gun. You have to declare it and pay a fee to bring it in and all this. If the only reason you're bringing a gun is for personal protection, you're not allowed to bring it at all. And so making a case for a handgun being for hunting is a little difficult. So we had to make decisions about that before we left Georgia 2 months ago.
So, because here's the other part of the equation that is a little bit different for us. So, if you're going to cross the border into Canada and back into the United States at the same border, what a lot of people do is they would store their handgun or their valuables or their something that wasn't able to be taken. They would store it. We've even heard of people that have gotten small storage units in the United States, gone together, paid a fee, paid the monthly fee for however long they were going to be. But in our case, we are going to cross into Canada at one border, cross back into the United States at another border, and then do the same in the fall. In September, we'll do the same thing. And so it's different borders. And so.
So some minor inconveniences, but not a big deal. So.
And we're going to be, I'm sure there'll be other things that we learn that we'll throw out there. We're going to be reading up again as it gets closer. So June the 2nd is when we'll head into Canada. And so we'll be making sure that we have all of our I's dotted and our T's crossed before we go.
So I had lunch with the pastor while my truck was getting fixed. And he's been planted for a while now, but they have planted 3 new churches, and he is about to turn his church over. And he is going to another area of Portland to start a new church. So it's he called himself a serial planter, and and he said probably the more technical term is apostolic planter, but he just sees his role as planting and starting churches and turning them over and moving on to a new area and starting another church. So he is in the process of doing that, and then. So we were supposed to have dinner with the pastor we were with on Sunday, and one of his kids got sick, ended up having an ear infection, so that got postponed a little bit. And it just so happened another pastor texted me that afternoon and was like, hey, our schedule is so crazy. Tonight's the only time we can meet. Is there any chance y'all are available? And I'm like, our schedule just got freed up, so we'll meet you. Where do you want to meet? So we got to meet the Barber family.
So there's another interesting thing about Portland. Maybe this is somewhat standard out just on the further west, the West Coast. but it's you see it a lot in Portland. Is they call them like food truck parks. Is that the right term? Park?
Or well, I don't know. Food court is
like,
basically
it's like
what
a
it
food
is.
court with food trucks. So this one there were some. We were there on a Monday, and there were a lot closed. That was kind of their day off, but there were probably
15.
I was about to say 14, 16 different food trucks, and then a little kind of covered pavilion area with seating, and so you could go and get whatever you wanted. You know, like we probably
Home
got
of the world's largest fork.
There you go.
Oh,
We got our picture out by the large
So-
fork in front of the food court.
That was very
so that was
interesting.
kind of neat.
Yeah. So anyway, then we got to on Tuesday is when I got to meet up with Tiffany. So for all of our Tifton people, there's a Tifton connection out that area of the world, and so every time I'm out there, I get to hang out with her, and so I did that and had coffee, and we got to catch up, which was super fun. I think that was all on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. We had a couple of good work days and things where we were getting stuff accomplished last week.
Yeah, and then Thursday, the pastor from the church, their son had been on antibiotics and was feeling better, and so we dropped the girls off with their 2 boys, and the 4 parents went out for a double date, and we had a great time getting to see their area and hear from them how things are going. And we got back to the house, and he kind of toured me around the neighborhood, just some interesting things about the neighborhood where they live and where they have planted, and it's neat to see how God is working there in the Vancouver, Washington area.
Yep. So it was a good week. We had a busy week. The girls and I are trying to get done with school. We've got about 4 weeks left, I think. And so we had a good catch-up week. We don't have sewer this week, so you've heard us talk.
That means I get to tote.
Yes.
Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah. We, so you've heard us talk about our Thousand Trails membership that we have a love-hate relationship with. We've actually hung on to it. We really haven't used it because there's not a ton of those parks in the middle of the United States. And so we've hung on to it to use once we got here to Seattle, because we knew there is one decent park out here. It's the one that's as close in as it's as close as you can get in Seattle to anything. So we have hung on to that membership just so we can use it. We are probably going to let that membership go once we get done here. We haven't decided for sure, but that's where we're leaning. But we get done here because with that membership that we pay a monthly fee for, we get to stay at their parks for free. So
anyway. that is the redeeming quality of this RV park.
But this RV park is old.
Yeah, they're getting ready to do all the power next year.
And it really needs it.
It needs it. We are on 30 amp, which if you know anything about RVs, ours is a 50 amp. So we have to be very careful what we run at the same time.
Here's what this looks like. It looks like Kevin sitting on the couch the night we got here with his phone and he has an app that is connected to our surge protector. And so he can tell what our voltage and power. So I'm standing at our control panel. He's sitting here watching his app, and we're having to track what things in the RV run on which lines. Is that right?
Yeah.
So that we can make sure that we don't run things at the same time because it blows the power.
Like air conditioning and microwave at the same time?
Microwaving anything.
Not going to happen.
Time really doesn't
happen. I don't know what happened. Did you use your hairdryer this morning?
I did, but I turned everything off. There was nothing running but my hairdryer.
Yep.
So
you gotta get creative sometimes.
With it being cool outside for a couple of days, the air's not running. And so I am working to get all the laundry done. I can run the washer and the dryer at the same time. I tested that out yesterday. So it's quite humorous.
We can't run all our airs.
Yeah, you can't run all the airs. You can only run the main air.
Good, it's cool.
Yeah, it's good that it's cool. Anyway, we laughed because, you just don't think. You get used to operating normally. And so Caroline went to heat something up in the microwave yesterday.
It was Caitlin.
Or one of the girls did without thinking, because that's what we normally do. And then, of course, it lasted like a few seconds and then blew, and that was it. So, It's humorous. We're hoping. I don't know
There's
if
a
this will
spot
work.
next to us that's 50 amp, and on the post it says they're leaving Tuesday.
This is a first come first serve park.
If
as
they
far as
leave,
spots.
I will be throwing all of our chairs in that spot to reserve it, and we'll be moving.
Yes. So we parked right beside the 50 amp spot, hoping that when they leave, if they leave on Tuesday, like their post says, that we will slide right over.
I
So.
thought you were just going to say like they're supposed to.
No, that would be supposed to. Like their post says. There's a sign, that you put on your post at your site. Anyway.
Yep.
101 things I thought I'd never be doing in life is scouring out a 50 amp spot so that we could run more than one thing at a time. Ugh.
Fun stuff.
Anyway, such is our life. You can pray. This week is going to be a bit of a weird off week for us from the standpoint of this is the first time this year that I am flying back for orthodontist and check in on my grandmother. And so it's gonna, and to do that too. Have mercy. God bless America.
Getting that mullet cut.
I'm holding it just so that it's not so terrible on this live, but if I turn just get enough where y'all can see the mullet at the back. So anyway, I'm doing all of that this week, so it's gonna be a weird week. But pray for safe travels for Caroline and I, as we leave on Tuesday and come back on Thursday.
We didn't talk about church today. We got to attend church today at Summit Life Church, and it is a church that is affiliated with two other church plants that we have established relationships with, one in Pittsburgh and one in Cincinnati. And we found out about this one through those two guys, and this is actually we were able to attend there last year when we were here, and so we were going to get to connect with them later in our stay here in Seattle, and we're looking forward to catching up with them. Their church is doing great, and things are going really well, so we're excited to hear all about that.
Yep. Alrighty. I think that's about it.
Yeah.
That about covers it.
Thanks for joining us tonight. If you'll share this video, that'll get it out to more people, and join us
Always
again
let us know
next
if you
week.
have questions. We like answering questions like that about our weird, crazy life that has become normal to us. So, anyway, hope y'all have a good weekend or a good week. I guess it's the end of the weekend, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Share the
Sunday.
video.
Oh yes,
Thanks.
be sure to share. Thanks.